Tying up a very popular simple trout nymph as well as warm water nymph here. This is the Pat's rubber leg stone. Simple little fly to tie. Throws people for a loop sometimes, securing those legs in. My technique I've used for years works very, very simple, and you can crank out a bunch of these very, very quickly, but it's a great stonefly imitation for trout streams, but I've also found it very effective on warm water streams, as well as if you tie this, well, even this size works good for big panfish, but this is a size 6. If you tie this on down to about a 10, it's a great little panfish fly. So that's the Pat's rubber leg stone. I'll get started tying. Start the rubber leg stone with my hook and the vise. This is a Mustad R74 in a size 6. You just basically want a 3x long streamer hook. You could do a 4x long. It's going to give you a longer body if you want, but it is a little bit longer. Little kind of stoneflies are larger nymphs. If you think of like a Bitch Creek nymph, something like that, they're definitely much longer, so you want a longer hook. After debarbing the hook, I'm going to add some weight. I'm using a 0.020 lead wire for this. I'm going to put about 13 or 14 wraps on there. Usually when I grab these with the pliers right here, that's about one wrap or part of it. So I'll count out about 13. And then when I pull this off, I have a little bit left. By the time I flatten all of these out, that's about 14 wraps. Don't have to be that fastidious, but then I want to have those on the forward portion of the hook shank. You could, by the way, if you want, affect how this swims in the water by placing this lead on the rear portion or all the way up the front or somewhere in between. Up in the front here, it's going to cause it to ride the front down a little bit more. Here, it's going to ride with the tail down more. What I want is somewhere around the middle section or even forward where it rides a little bit more level, but with the front of it being a little bit lower. I'm going to attach my thread. I'm using a Danville 70 Denier in black. First thing when I attach this is going to be just about an eye length or so behind the eye of the hook. I'm going to keep wrapping down. When I get to the lead wraps here, I'll just remove the tension and reach with my thread all the way behind those lead wraps and start wrapping back behind them. This will allow me to make a thread dam back here, and that also traps that lead between the front and back portion. This will keep that lead from sliding around, not only while I'm tying the fly, but during fishing it or anything like that. So I'll put a little thread dam up there. The thread dam also gives me a nice transition from the larger diameter lead wraps to the smaller diameter hook shank. You have a little bit of a tag end sticking up here. I wouldn't worry about it. It's a chenille body, so it's all going to be covered up. But I do smooth this out just a little bit so I don't have any drops from that larger diameter lead, have any material slipping off of there. Now I'm going to bring my thread all the way back up, about halfway between the lead wraps and the eye of the hook. Now I'm going to start tying in the rubber legs on our rubber leg stone. You can use different kinds of rubber legs for this. I'm just using, this is a black round rubber leg in a size medium. I like the round, I should say I just like the rubber legs because they're stiffer. I think they have a lot of movement to them. They're also sturdier. They just hold up a little bit better when they're being fished. Silly legs are nice. There's a lot of movement in those. They're a little bit heavier density-wise in the water, but they're also a little bit more fragile. They'll break easier. With these, we're going to be kind of pulling on these as we're tying these in, and they just end up being a little bit sturdier. But there's other kinds of rubber legs. Use whichever ones you like. I have a strip of these, probably about 2 inches in length, that I cut off. I peel my legs off here. And there's different techniques for tying these in, whichever you're most comfortable with. But I'm going to tie these in. I folded those in half. I'm going to tie those in so they're just from the lead wraps forward. They're sticking out, and they're sticking out long, and that's what I want. I'm going to lash those down. To take a moment, I want the legs to be splayed out here, and I'm going to wrap this right down to the eye of the hook. This is where we'll be finishing the fly in a little bit. Just leave those long. They don't necessarily have to be out the same angle, but you can move those around to try and even that up a little bit if you want. I'm going to bring my thread all the way down to just past the point of the hook. Here's where I'm going to tie in the tail. The tail's the same thing. It's just another bit of rubber legs here. I'm going to fold this over in half. Some people will tie these in. They'll take a whole long strip, double it over, have a loop out here, and then just lash it on back here to the legs and then cut them to length here. You can do that if you want. I'm just placing these along the hook shank, binding these in. I want to wrap these all the way down, make certain they stay on top of the hook shank to just about the barb. Put a few more wraps to make certain that those are secure. Bring my thread again just past the point of the hook. Now I'm going to tie in my chenille. I'm using, this is a variegated chenille. The Pat's rubber leg stone uses, I've seen it tied in all kinds of different ways, and you can use just a regular stone if you want to go with just a black chenille or something, but most often it's a variegated chenille. This is a black and burnt orange or crawdad orange variegated chenille. You can use an olive and black or like a brown and black if you want. You can even go all brown. Like I said, it's up to you. I have had great luck with this fly in this color and olive and black, as well as just all black. And you can tie this all black with some white legs, and that actually does pretty darn well for smallmouth bass. So I'm going to expose the core of that chenille and tie that in right off the back here. That's where we'll start to apply that. I'm going to tie in the rubber legs. I'm going to bring my thread forward. I'm going to come up to the halfway point along the hook shank. This is where I'm going to tie in the first set of legs. A lot of people have difficulty tying this fly because of the legs. They can be a little bit difficult for them. There's different techniques, and if you want to see some of those, I suggest look up the Pat's rubber leg stone out on YouTube, and there's other videos where other people show you their technique for tying in the legs. I've found that this one works for me over the years. It's just a lot simpler. It's a lot easier. Some of them involving super glue don't work too well for the rubber legs. Most of your cyanoacrylate glues don't react well to the rubber legs. And I'm not a big fan of the UV. I've tried it with UV and had the legs slide out from under the UV. So this works for me. I'm going to take the legs, about the midpoint of the legs, and I'm just going to place them right on top. And I'm just going to lightly put 2 wraps in the exact same location. I'm going to then take the legs and try to even them up as best. They don't have to be perfect, but just try to make certain you're around that midpoint. Pulling them a little bit perpendicular to the hook shank, I gently take my thread and I do 1 cross wrap across those legs, and then I bring another one over. Now, I'm not really cranking on that thread at all. I'm just laying it across the top, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch these and pull them back and forth. That's going to get those 2 cross wraps all lined in right tight on top there, and that's all I need. That's going to hold those in. I can even If I wanted to, I could pull this to one side. As you can see, it easily slides from one side to another. So if I had to, I could massage that a little bit to get the more closely to the midpoint. But it's not critical that you're in the midpoint because we're going to trim these to length in a minute. So once I have that second wrap in, I'm just going to bring my thread forward. Maybe I want the last wrap of legs to be somewhere around the end of the lead right here. The other one's going to be right about in the middle. So if this is the halfway point on the hook shank, this is about the quarter of the hook shank right there. I'm going to tie this in the same way, right around that midpoint. I'll put in one wrap, a second wrap, bring this over, gently bring my thread over the top, around that side, and once you have that one in, it's very easy to get the second one in. Stretch those, pull those a little bit, and now I have the next one in. Do the last set of legs, 2 wraps, bring my thread around lightly. The legs can be sometimes just trying your patience here in terms of they're all sticking out there and they tend to get in your way, but that's all right. Now, this is a little bit further forward than the end of the lead, and that's fine. I have room for a wrap or two of the chenille there, and that's what I'm looking for. I have those in, bring my thread up to maybe 1 wrap behind the eye of the hook. Now I'll apply the chenille. This is a rayon chenille, and what I find often when these are on those cards, they get flattened. You can probably see it right there. The fibers, which are nice and round and full, get kind of flattened in spots. So I often will take my hackle pliers and twist this up in a clockwise twist just to get that rounded up, and it gives it a little bit fuller look and appearance. Start wrapping each wrap in front of the other. As you can see, I'm also not really fiddling with those legs much. I want 1 wrap tight up against those legs, and then I'll come right around the front. Often, I don't even have to move those legs out of the way when I'm wrapping this. Sometimes you'll have to reposition your pliers and you'll have to twist that up a little bit more. But you get a nice tight wrap up against the legs and then another one right in front. And then just keep moving forward. I get 1 wrap in here, and I can get another one. Actually, that's probably a little bit too much. I'll just go ahead and tie that off there. Secure the chenille, and I can trim away the excess. You don't want to crowd the eye here, so if you have to, push back just a little bit. And here we'll just put in a couple extra wraps to cure everything. Just a little bit of that chenille sticking out there. See if I can't pull that out. It's not critical by any means. I'm going to put in a whip finish. Trim away my thread. Some head cement right on the thread wraps there. Now we can trim these legs up. I find the easiest way, I like the legs and the tail to be about 3/4 of the hook shank. So if I just fold these back, try not to stretch these while you're doing this, but if you fold those back, you just cut them 3/4. fold these back over, same thing. Take these back over, cut those about 3/4. You can guesstimate if you want. Your side legs about the same length. You can have them different lengths if you want, but I generally just go about the same. I can't do this here on camera. Those are a little bit shorter. Now the thing is, you could still even, as you can see here, I can still pull on that a little bit and slide that over. So that's another nice thing about the way these are tied in. Now, is a fish going to grab that and potentially pull it out? Probably. But you also run the risk that a fish is going to grab these, and or in fighting the fish, they're going to just pull one out and snap it off. But that is my take on the Pat's rubber leg stone. Quick and easy pattern. Like I said, popular colors, all black. The variegated chenille's good. All black with white legs also seems to work pretty good. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. And what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.